Hi there, Andrew here. Today I will talk about top mistakes to avoid in retirement. These mistakes do not concern only finances. They also matter for other important areas, such as health and relationships. Let me start with health. Cognitive decline can set in real fast as you start to age, and it's a big mistake not to prioritize your health, even at older age. My wife and I have given it a lot of thought, and we recently visited a blue zone longevity island of Ikaria in Greece. Ikaria is known for people who live to 100 years of age and even longer. But not only that, they also stay relatively healthy at that age. We observed people and their customs over there and took notice of several things. Many think it's a food or diet factor, but we think that Icarians live long because they succeeded in eliminating stress almost completely from their lives. And stress is the real killer in Western societies. So how do Icarians distress? They distress by talking to their friends, family or neighbors, they tend to their gardens, they take long walks, or they laugh and have a glass or two of homemade wine. And if any problems happen, they do not take it seriously and they brush those problems aside. When we arrived on the island, we saw this graffiti near the airport. It really sums it all up how Icarians deal with problems. Do you have a problem? No? Don't worry. Yes? Can you do something about it? If yes, solve it and do not worry. If you cannot do anything about it, why worry then? Next, their diet is seasonal and varied. They eat meat, dairy and lots of vegetables, even wild ones. Surprisingly, we didn't see a lot of fish. Locals told us that fishing is not easy. Moreover, fishing was dangerous until the last 200 years or so. The reason is simple. Pirates often raided and plundered Ikaria until 1800s. The Icarians had to live in mountains and rely on domestic animals, olive oil and vegetables. And this is where the real difference comes in. The quality of water, air, soil and food is beyond what you can expect. And they also drink wild herbal teas as well as have a spoonful of homemade honey. And the third thing is that Icarians value their relationships with others. We asked our Airbnb host, who was born and raised on Ikaria, and she still lives there with her family and children. We asked her, why is that Ikaria has this longevity thing? Why is that other islands that are just, you can see them just right across the Icarian Sea, why is that they don't have this longevity? And her reply shocked us. She said that those other islands, they do not have the same strong sense of community like Ikaria does. And that sums it all up. So, what kind of lessons can we draw from here? Well, first, cut stress as much as you can, or find ways to deal with it. Our preferred method of dealing with stress is to meditate. Did you, by the way, know that meditating can help and stimulate the brain growth? Next, stay physically active. Then, try to eat organic food as much as you can afford. This makes a very big difference today, given a common use of herbicides and pesticides. Diet is a very controversial topic, so it's very difficult to talk about it without, triggering some emotions. But I'm a big fan of Dr. Gabriel Cousens and his approach to health. He has this lecture about how our eating habits influence our cognitive functions. I linked it here. Finally, it's not a secret that loneliness can shorten anyone's lifespan. There are studies that show that loneliness can decrease a person's life by almost 15 years. Maintaining and cultivating meaningful relationships is something we can all benefit from. You may wonder why I spend so much time talking about health, and the answer is very simple. Healthcare expenses can spiral out of control real fast in retirement. And this is the second most common mistake among retirees, and that is not to plan accordingly for higher medical bills. According to the study by Fidelity, they discovered that the average couple at their 65 years, they would need at least $315,000 set aside to cover medical expenses. And one remedy for that maybe is to have a long-term care insurance policy if you can afford it. And this is where the mistake number one comes into play. Prioritizing your health becomes even more important in retirement. If you are healthy, you just don't need any of those medical services, or you won't have those medical bills. So it's never too late to prioritize health and build healthy habits. The third mistake to avoid is to claim your Social Security benefits too early. As you may know, you can claim Social Security benefits at the age of 62, but those benefits, they will be about 30% lower compared to claiming them at the full retirement age. The full retirement age stands at 67 years if you were born after 1960. Moreover, be careful with working and claiming your benefits before your full retirement age. The government will deduct $1 from your benefits for each $2 earned above $22,320 in 2024. So keep these things in mind. The fourth mistake concerns your investment approach. Retirement requires a more conservative approach to investing and a capital preservation. In my recent video about 4% rule problem, I highlighted timing as the biggest risk in retirement. The worst thing is to retire into bear markets. This will force you to sell at rock bottom prices. When you were young and you earned income, you could have just waited it out before the recovery starts. But in retirement, it's a completely different game. You don't have the luxury of time anymore, because you must pay your bills today. One way to cope with the timing risk is to have temporarily a higher allocation to dividend stocks. Another approach is to have some sort of cash cushion fund that will allow you to wait out the bear markets until the recovery starts. I made a video about the cash cushion fund that I linked here. The fifth mistake is to continue spending the way you used to spend before retiring. As we just talked about, retirement requires a more conservative investment approach. So does your spending habits. You must have some sort of realistic budget that will be able to sustain your spending habits in retirement. The 4% rule provides a decent guide to that. It basically says that your portfolio size should be 25 times your annual living expenses. And this portfolio will last you up to 30 years into retirement based on historical data. Of course, this is just a rule of thumb, and all rules can break. Therefore, it's very important to maintain flexibility in your retirement. So what do I mean by that? You will have to cut down on your withdrawals and potentially cut down on your living expenses. In the bear markets, when you withdraw the same fixed amount as you did before, your withdrawal rate will definitely skyrocket and will be higher if your, say, portfolio goes down by 20 or 30%. So the way to deal with it is to cut down on your living expenses and tighten your belt, or alternatively, you can continue working part-time in your retirement. The sixth mistake is to miscalculate your required minimum distributions, or RMDs. Once you reach a certain age, the law requires you to withdraw certain minimum annual distributions from your pension funds. And the government doesn't really care whether you need those funds or not. These RMDs cover 401ks, Simplified Employee Pension or SAP, traditional IRA and simple IRAs. Roth IRA and Roth 401k are exempt from RMDs. The RMDs kick in when you turn 73 in 2023. The age threshold goes up to 75 years after 2033. Let me give you an example. Suppose you are 78 years old and your spouse is about the same age. According to IRS publication 590B Uniform Lifetime Table, your distribution period is 22. This number is also known as life expectancy factor. Suppose your retirement portfolio is $1 million, not including Roth IRA and Roth 401ks. Then you must take an RMD of $45,455, or 1 million divided by 22. Of course, as with any law, there are special situations and tweaks, but RMDs is how much you must withdraw each year. And RMDs are typically taxable at your individual tax rates. But if you fail to withdraw RMDs each year, you'll be facing an additional 50% excise penalty tax. That's right, 50%. And the Secure 2.0 Act, enacted in 2022, allows you to lower the 50% penalty to 25% or potentially to 10% if you correct your missing RMDs and withdraw them within the next 2 years. And the final 7th mistake is to be house rich but cash poor. Many people before they retire, they pay off their mortgages and they have a lot of home equity but very little cash. And houses require all sorts of expenses, such as utilities, repairs and maintenance, property taxes, just to name a few. And if you don't have sufficient funds, you may be facing tough choices. And this is especially true if your children moved out and you have this large house all to yourself and you use maybe a fraction of the space available in it. So one way to deal with this problem is to downsize. You can sell your house and move to a smaller property. By doing so, you'll be able to cut down significantly on your expenses. But moreover, you'll be able to cash out that home equity that will provide even more funds for your retirement. That is it for this video. I hope you learned something new today and it will help you to plan better for your future retirement. Thank you for watching.